The question was, how did Malcolm like being on Heroes?
Well, I think Heroes was a fabulous show. Woo! And especially the early seasons.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't see the rest of it, to be honest. I thought it was very well written, and I enjoyed it tremendously. And what a great entrance to give Lindemann, you know, cooking pot pies. I loved it. I think I got to the set at 5 o'clock in the evening, and I started shooting that at 8 o'clock, and by 9:30 it was all done. It was great, though. Really spectacular character. And I was in my trailer on Halloween, waiting for the lights to be whatever, and I'm reading the next Heroes installment, and I read that Lindemann gets killed. I scream, what? How dare they? This great character, but they explained to me that they wanted their villains to be a bit like the Bond villains, just to come in, do a thing, and gone. But thank goodness for people like you writing in on Twitter or whatever it is you do. You twittered and they listened and they brought me back. Unfortunately, they didn't know what the hell to do with me when they brought me back. I was dead, and I was working with Adrian Pazdan, and we were doing a scene, and in the middle of the scene I saw he had some fluff on his thing, and they went, "Cut! What are you doing?" I said, "Well, he had..." He goes, "No, no, no, you can't touch him, you're dead!" Really? I had no idea.
That fella over there, yeah.
Sure.
Hang on, you gotta speak this into the microphone, please.
You're not violent, are you? Anything weird. Not going to take your trousers down. Carry on.
Not to be
It was very dramatic. Oh my God, here comes a messenger from Hamlet. Yes, my liege.
not to be too political.
Quiet, please. Let the man have his moment.
Not to be too political, but it's easy to think that Alex DeLarge is a monster safely tucked away in fiction in the past. But as we've seen with the London riots and other...
Don't be embarrassed. It's a good question. He's trying to blame me for the London fucking riot. Very good point. You're asking me about the London riots. And there is a correlation, of course, to all art and everything that influences young people, including rap music, whatever it is, punk, whatever the art form, whatever it is.
I don't think that was your question, though. But you know what the problem is? When you give me the mic back, we don't know what your question is.
So what was the question?
Yes.
Yes.
So do you want to try that again?
What, in your opinion, has England, or perhaps the government of England, not gotten right ever since Clockwork Orange was made? And Anthony Burgess was talking about contemporary issues about violent youth in Britain. And yet, as you've seen in the London riots, those issues still haven't been fixed. What, in your opinion, they haven't been doing right then all this time?
Okay, did you hear that? Yes. Well, not to get too political here, because A, I haven't lived in England for 30 years. I'll take a guess. If you go back to the history of London and the British people, you'll see that it's a very common thing for the British Londoners, particularly, to riot. I mean, in the Victorian eras, they used to turn over the monarch's carriage. I mean, they rioted all the time. There are famous riots throughout the history of London. Why are they doing it today? I think that honestly, who knows? I mean, I don't live there and I don't know the answer to it. I don't think anybody there knows the answer to it. But I think it must have something to do with, you know, the education system not being, and lacking money and cutting back, because in England, you know, being part of Europe, it's close to collapse, like it is in the United States. I mean, there is economic meltdown everywhere. The banks are on the cusp of failure, and everyone's really running scared. So, you know, these kids come out of school, they're promised this, that, and the other, and they do what they're supposed to do, and then there's absolutely nothing for them to do. They're out of work. They're bored, and I don't think it's even that they're particularly violent. I think that it starts off as this. It started off about a protest because the police supposedly shot a guy. I think it was an excuse, and I think that once the mob instinct got going, they thought, wow. And when you see the people that are brought up before the magistrates, you'd be shocked. There are university students that just thought, oh, they're passing, there's a shop open, I may as well steal a plasma TV.
There's a great Martin Luther King quote applied to the civil unrest in the States in the 60s that applies here. And he said something to the effect of, when you slash facilities and cut jobs, and when the police shoot people and there's no justice, the people will rise up. A riot is the language